Hello, Namaste and Vanakkam. My dear friends, in this video, we will be covering my handwritten notes on all the clauses in Professional Ethics chapter in CA Final Auditing. I hope it is useful for you. We'll also be covering the memory techniques on how to remember which clause contains what details. So watch the video till the end and I hope it's really helpful to you. So let us move forward without wasting any further time. In Professional Ethics chapter, there are two types of misconduct. One is professional misconduct and the other is classified as other misconducts. In professional misconduct, we have first schedule and second schedule, and likewise in other misconduct also we have first schedule and second schedule. Okay, so under first schedule in professional misconduct, there are three parts, and the fourth part of the first schedule is classified under other misconduct. So totally there are four parts under first schedule. Similarly, in professional misconduct second schedule, there are two parts, and the third part of second schedule is classified under other misconduct. So to summarize, there are four parts under first schedule in professional ethics, and there are three parts in second schedule under professional ethics. So now let us look at the number of clauses in each part. In first schedule, part 1 there are 12 clauses, part 2 there are 2 clauses, and part 3 there are 3 clauses, and part 4 there are 2 clauses. So it is 12, 2, 3, 2. Okay, and in second schedule, part 1 there are 10 clauses, and part 2 there are 4 clauses, and part 3 there are no clauses as such. It is just normal paragraph kind of points. Okay, so in second schedule 10 clauses and 4 clauses. If you're clear with this bird's eye view chart, let us now move on to the first schedule, clauses in the first schedule. Okay, the first schedule, part 1, professional misconduct in relation to CAs in practice. Clause 1 allows any person to practice in his name as a CA unless such a person is also a CA in practice and is in partnership with or employed by him. Alright. Clause 2 pays or allows or agrees to pay or allow, directly or indirectly, any share, commission or brokerage in the fees or profits of his professional business to any person other than a member of the institute or a partner or a retired partner or the legal representative of a deceased partner or a member of any other professional body, or with such other persons having such qualification as may be prescribed for the purpose of rendering such professional services from time to time in or outside India. Okay, and moving on to clause 3, accepts or agrees to accept any part of the profits of the professional work of a person who is not a member of the institute, or here there's an asterisk, and that asterisk reference is over here in the above clause. So to continue, of a person who is not a member of the institute or a member of any other professional body, or with such other persons having such qualification as may be prescribed. Okay, that's how this clause ends. Moving on to clause number 4, enters into partnership in or outside India with any person other than a CA in practice or such other person who is a member of any other professional body having such qualification as may be prescribed, including a resident who, but for his residence abroad, would be entitled to be registered as a member under section 415, or whose qualifications are recognized by the central government or the council for the purpose of permitting such partnerships. Okay, moving on to the next clause, clause number 5, secures either through the services of a person who is not an employee of such CA or who is not his partner, or by means which are not open to a CA, any professional business. If he secures any professional business through these means. Moving on to the next clause, clause number 6, solicits clients or other professional work either directly or indirectly by CAP IB. Now what is CAP IB? Circulars, advertisements, personal communication, interview, or by any other means. Okay, I'll repeat it for you again. Solicits clients or professional work either directly or indirectly by circulars, advertisements, personal communication, interview, or by any other means, provided that nothing here contained shall be construed as preventing or prohibiting any CA from applying or requesting for or inviting or securing professional work from another CA in practice. So this is allowed. A member from responding to tenders or inquiries by various users of professional services or organizations from time to time and securing professional work as a consequence. However, he shall not respond to any tender issued in areas of service which are exclusively reserved for CAs, such as audit and attestation services. However, such restriction shall not be applicable, which means this restriction shall not be applicable where minimum assignment fee is prescribed in the tender document itself, or where the areas are open to other professionals along with CAs. So what they want to say is that if any tender is exclusively reserved for the CAs alone, then the CA should not respond to that tender. It will be counted as a professional misconduct. But however, if the minimum assignment fee is prescribed in the tender document itself, or where the tender is open to other professionals also, then it is allowed. Further, an advertisement of coaching or teaching activities by a member in practice may amount to indirect solicitation. Alright, moving on to clause number 7. Advertises his professional attainments or services or uses any designation or expressions other than CA on professional documents, visiting cards, letterheads or signboards, unless it be a university degree established by law in India or recognized by central government, or a title indicating membership of ICI or of any institution that has been recognized by central government or may be recognized by the council. Clause number 8. Accepts a position as auditor previously held by another chartered accountant or a certified auditor who has been issued certificate under the Restricted Certificate Rules 1932 without first communicating with him in writing. Okay. Clause number 9. Accepts an appointment as auditor of a company without first ascertaining from it whether the requirements under section 139, 140 and 142 read with section 141 of Companies Act 2013 in respect of such appointment have been duly complied with. So all these requirements under the relevant section should be complied with. Clause 10. Charges or offers to charge, accepts or offers to accept in respect of any professional employment fees which are based on a percentage of profits or which are contingent upon the findings or results, except as permitted under any regulations made under this act. Okay. The above clause does not apply to the following. So this clause does not apply to certain services. What are these services? V-Card FCA. Now what does V-Card FCA stand for? Let us see. V. Valuer for the purpose of direct taxes and duties. C stands for cost optimization related services. A stands for auditor of a cooperative society. R stands for receiver or liquidator. D stands for debt recovery services. F stands for fundraising services. C stands for certain management consultancy services. And A stands for any other service or audit as the council may decide. Okay. So if these services are there, then this clause will not apply. V-Card FCA. Moving on to clause number 11. Engages in any business or occupation other than the profession of CA unless permitted by the council to so engage, provided that nothing contained herein shall disentitle a CA from being a director of a company, not being managing director or whole-time director, unless he or any of his partners is interested in such company as an auditor. Okay. Clause number 12. Allows a person not being a member of the institute in practice or a member not being his partner to sign on his behalf or on behalf of his firm any balance sheet, P&L report or financial statements. However, the power to sign routine documents on which a professional opinion or authentication is not required to be expressed may be delegated as per section 26 of Companies Act Chartered Accountants Act 1949. Also note that Section 26 of Chartered Accountants Act 1949 stipulates that no person other than a member of the institute shall sign any document on behalf of a CA in practice or a firm of CAs in his or its professional capacity. Alright, so this was part 1 of Schedule 1. Here we saw 12 clauses. Now let us move on to part 2 of Schedule 1, where we have 2 clauses. Professional misconduct in relation to members of institute in service. Clause 1. Pays or allows or agrees to pay directly or indirectly to any person any share in the emoluments of the employment undertaken by him. However, this clause does not restrict such sharing or commitments among relatives, dependents, friends, etc. if there is no relationship in procuring or retaining the job and payment is not a consideration for job procurement or retainership. Okay. The last clause in this part, clause 2, accepts or agrees to accept any part of fees, profits or gains from a lawyer, CA or broker engaged by such company, firm or person, or agent or customer of such company, firm or person by way of commission or gratification. So lawyer, CA, broker, agent, customer of such company, firm or person, they should not accept fees, profits or gains from these persons engaged by such company, firm or person by way of commission or gratification. Okay. Now moving on to part 3 of Schedule 1. Professional misconduct in relation to members of the institute generally. The members may be in practice or not. Okay. Clause 1. Not being a fellow of the institute acts as a fellow of the institute. Clause 2. Does not supply the information called for or does not comply with the requirements asked for by 7 people. And who are those 7? Institute, ICI, council or any of its committees, director discipline, board of discipline, disciplinary committee, quality review board, appellate authority. Okay. Moving on to clause number 3. While inviting professional work from another CA or while responding to tenders or inquiries or while advertising through a write-up or anything as provided for in items 6 and 7 of part 1 of this schedule gives information knowing it to be false. So this will also amount to misconduct under part 3 of Schedule 1. Okay. Moving on to part 4 of Schedule 1, other misconduct in relation to members of institute generally. Here there are 2 clauses. Clause 1 is held guilty by any civil or criminal court for an offence which is punishable with imprisonment for a term not exceeding 6 months, less than or equal to 6 months. If it exceeds 6 months, it will be covered in clause of part 3 of second schedule. Okay, where I told you that there is no specific points listed there, is just a paragraph kind of clause. Clause 2, in the opinion of counsel, brings disrepute to the profession or the institute as a result of his action, whether or not related to his professional work. Okay, so now we have covered all the parts in first schedule, part 1, part 2, part 3 and part 4. Now you will be wondering, sir, how do I remember so many clauses? There are so many parts. So here there is a technique to remember. First schedule, part 1. What is the memory technique? There are 12 clauses in part 1 of first schedule. Okay, so this is in Hindi. If you memorize this, you will be able to remember accurately which clause, what is the matter given in it. So here it goes. Practice का पैसा पे या रिसीव केवल पार्टनरशिप फर्म में ही करना. So whatever I have written in black is the key word in that clause. Okay, practice का पैसा पे या रिसीव केवल पार्टनरशिप फर्म में ही करना. So for example, practice, pay, receive, partnership firm. Where can you find in these clauses? Practice, okay, pay, receive, which means accept, okay, and partnership firm. Okay, so like that. प्रैक्टिस का पैसा पे या रिसीव केवल पार्टनरशिप फर्म में ही करना. काम सिक्योर करने के लिए सॉलिसिट या एडवर्टाइज मत करना. सिक्योर करने के लिए सॉलिसिट या एडवर्टाइज मत करना. ओके. पुराने को कम्युनिकेट भी करना और कंपनीज एक्ट के कंप्लायंस का ध्यान भी रखना विदाउट फर्स्ट कम्युनिकेटिंग विथ हिम इन राइटिंग. कंपनीज एक्ट के प्रोविजंस. ओके. परसेंटेज फीस लेके अनदर बिजनेस में साइन ना करे. परसेंटेज फीस लेके अनदर बिजनेस में साइन ना करे. सो लेट अस रीड इट आउट एंटायरली. प्रैक्टिस का पैसा पे या रिसीव केवल पार्टनरशिप फर्म में ही करना. काम सिक्योर करने के लिए सॉलिसिट या एडवर्टाइज मत करना. पुराने को कम्युनिकेट भी करना और कंपनीज एक्ट के कंप्लायंस का ध्यान भी रखना. परसेंटेज फीस लेके अनदर बिजनेस में साइन ना करे. So this was about part 1 of first schedule where there were 12 clauses. Now part 2 of first schedule, pay या receive मत करना. As simple as that. You can find the keywords over there. And part 3, FCA दिखाकर नॉन सबमिशन करना या फॉल्स बोलना गलत है. FCA दिखाकर नॉन सबमिशन, okay, does not supply the information called for, requirements asked for. नॉन सबमिशन करना या फॉल्स बोलना, gives information knowing it to be false. False बोलना गलत है. Okay. And part 4, punishable with imprisonment for term not exceeding 6 months or disrepute. Not exceeding 6 months and disrepute. Okay. So this was all about the first schedule, wherein there were 4 parts. Alright. Hope this is helpful to you. Now let us move on to the second schedule, where there are 2 parts. Part 1, professional misconduct in relation to CA in practice. In that, clause 1 discloses information acquired in the course of his professional engagement to any person other than his client so engaging him without the consent of his client or otherwise than as required by any law for the time being in force. Okay. So you should not disclose any information other than to his client. Clause 2, if he certifies or submits in his name or in the name of his firm a report of an examination of financial statements, unless the examination of such statements and the related records has been made by him or by a partner or an employee in his firm or by another CA in practice. Okay. Clause 3, permits his name or the name of his firm to be used in connection with an estimate of earnings contingent upon future transactions in a manner which may lead to the belief that he vouches for the accuracy of the forecast. Okay. Clause 4, expresses his opinion on financial statements of any business or enterprise in which he, his firm or a partner in his firm has a substantial interest. So this would also amount to misconduct. And clause 5, fails to disclose a material fact known to him which is not disclosed in a financial statement but disclosure of which is necessary in making such financial statements not misleading, where he is concerned with that financial statements in a professional capacity. So he should disclose all the material facts known to him in order to make the financial statements not misleading. Clause 6, fails to report a material misstatement known to him to appear in financial statements with which he is concerned in a professional capacity. Okay, report a material misstatement known to him. Here it was material fact known to him. Clause 5, material misstatement is clause 6. Don't worry, I will also give the memory techniques for second schedule also. Clause 7, does not exercise due diligence or is grossly negligent in the conduct of his professional duties. Due diligence and is grossly negligent. Okay, this would amount to professional misconduct. Clause 8, fails to obtain sufficient information which is necessary for expression of an opinion or its exceptions are sufficiently material to negate the expression of an opinion. Okay, moving on to clause 9, fails to invite attention to any material departure from the generally accepted procedure of audit applicable to the circumstances. And clause 10, the last clause in this part, fails to keep monies of his client other than fees or remuneration or money meant to be expended in a separate banking account or to use such monies for the purposes for which they are intended within a reasonable time. So let us come again. Fails to keep monies of his client other than fees or remuneration or money meant to be expended in a separate banking account. So you should keep such money in a separate bank account, or to use such monies for the purposes for which they are intended within a reasonable time. Okay, so these were the 10 clauses in part 1 of second schedule. So second schedule part 1, the memory techniques for the 10 clauses is: information disclosed किए बिना report ना दे, estimate में substantial interest ना, and FMG. Who is FMG? Nirmala Sitharaman ji. Okay, FM, Finance Minister. FMG keeps their money in separate bank account. Okay, so here substantial interest, till here 4 clauses are done, correct? And FMG, what does F stands for? Fact disclosure. Here we had seen, right? Material fact in clause 5. And what was the next clause? Material misstatement. And seventh clause is grossly negligent, as you can see here. Due diligence or is grossly negligent. Okay, FMG keeps their money in. What does in stand for? I stands for insufficient audit evidence. That is, fails to obtain sufficient information, insufficient audit evidence. No disclosure in audit report. That is clause 9. Fails to invite attention to any material departure. That is no disclosure in audit report. And separate bank account, as it is clause 10, in a separate banking account. So let me read it out for you. Information disclosed किए बिना report ना दे, estimate में substantial interest ना, and FMG keeps their money in separate bank account. Okay. So it is necessary to make it interesting in order to remember. So now moving on to part 2 of schedule 2. Professional misconduct in relation to members of the institute generally. Clause 1. Contravenes any of the provisions of this act or the regulations made thereunder or any guidelines issued by the council. Okay. Clause 2. Being an employee of any company, firm or person, discloses confidential information acquired in the course of his professional employment, except as and when required by any law for time being in force, or except as permitted by the employer. So in these two exceptional circumstances, he should not disclose any confidential information acquired in the course of his employment. And clause 3 includes in any information, statement, return or form to be submitted to those 7 people, as we had seen in an earlier clause. Let me take it again for you. Who are those 7 people? Institute, council or any of its committees, director discipline, board of discipline, disciplinary committee, quality review board, and or the appellate authority. This we have seen in clause 2 of part 3 of schedule 1. So if the professional, that is the chartered accountant, includes in any information, statement, return or form to be submitted to those 7 people any particulars knowing them to be false, it would amount to a misconduct. And the last clause in part 2 of schedule 2, defalcates or embezzles money received in his professional capacity. This would also amount to a professional misconduct. Okay, so we are done with two parts in the second schedule, and part 3, as I had said, is very simple. A member of the institute, whether in practice or not, shall be deemed to be guilty of other misconduct if he is held guilty by any civil or criminal court for an offence which is punishable with imprisonment for a term exceeding 6 months. Here we had. So my dear friend, I really hope this video was of some benefit to you. If it was, do like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on any of my upcoming videos. Thank you so much.